Try this for a change. There you go. Anyway, Thursday is typically my Sabbath day when I try to get a break, rest, be renewed, and be restored. But this past Thursday was even better, I think. I went down to have lunch with my two cousins. I have two cousins down in Jupiter, Florida. So we met halfway. Anyway, on the way driving down there, I took a little detour. I went to my old vet. What's the matter? You don't look good? How's my hair? All right. You'll see why. Okay, thank you. Put myself together. Anyway, I took a little detour at Satellite Beach, my old vet. Unfortunately, he wasn't there because I had to buy some dog stuff, the fleas and heartburn. If you have any dogs, you realize how expensive that stuff is, man. It's more expensive than people medicine. Anyway, so I go there and I order that. I got two dogs, so a little bit more than usual. Take out my credit card, I put it on the counter, and I'm waiting. And he said, "Oh no, Father, it's okay. You don't have to pay." I said, "All right, thank you. That's great. It's a blessing." Anyway, I had lunch with my cousins. We had a great meal, great conversation. The bill comes. Take out my wallet, take out my credit card, and they said to me, "You don't have to pay." Of course, I insisted. Yeah, right. But anyway, I was very, very grateful. Anyway, on the way home, coming into the land that night, I recalled that someone gave me gift certificates to Rodeo Whip. And so I stopped there. It was a perfect day. Wow, huh? 3 for 3. I said to myself, boy, you owe them. You are blessed. You owe them. You are indebted to them. Do you owe anybody? Anyone kind of gracious, went out of their way for you? A little extra kind, a little thoughtful, huh? Or let's switch to tables. Does anyone owe you that you were out of your way? No? No, okay. Got a lot of friends, huh? No. Anyway, no. Maybe it's the other way around, that, wait a minute, I kind of went out of my way, did extra favors, they owe me. How about with God? Does God owe you? Everybody says instinctively, no, of course not. I know we think that, but it's not how we always act. After all, let's think about it. I think God does owe us. What about 30% now attend Mass on Sundays? You guys are here. You should tell God, God, you don't have as many friends as you did back in the day. So I think you better treat the ones you do have pretty good because this is all you have left. I mean, you owe us. You say, no, we don't think that, but sure we do in some ways. When things don't go well, when things don't work out, say, hey, what's going on? We tell God that, right? Hey, I've been good. I've been going to church. Well, what's with this? And so this morning we had the reading from the book of Job. We don't normally hear Job on Sundays, nor do we have the whole story, but I think most of us are somewhat familiar with Job. And Job is not a true story. That one we know. It's an allegory. And what's the whole thing about Job? Well, Job is living life large. He has it sweet. Nice wife, kids, land, servants, sheep. He has everything. And so God sees Job and says, Satan, check out my man Job. Look how righteous he is. Look how he and I are so close. And Satan says, of course he's close to you. He owes you. Look how good you are to him. Why wouldn't he? He said, so Satan tells, God, you want to see what Job's like? Give him some problems. Then you see, he'll whistle a different tune. And so God says, okay, Satan, you can do what you want, but don't harm Job. And so he destroys his whole family except his wife, loses his kids, his land, his sheep, home, everything. And Job is still okay with God. And so Satan says, okay, let's up the ante. Let's inflict Job skin for skin. And so God says, okay, go ahead. And now Job is a little bit changing now. He has some friends trying to explain to him that you're not that good, Job. And then his wife says, curse God. Ooh. Curse God. Have you ever cursed God? Have you wanted to curse God? Now, to be honest with you, I'm not one to curse God, but you know what I like to do to God? Let me tell you what I like to do to God. I like to, hold this, my friend. I like to call a foul on God. That's a foul, God. Yeah, we want to call a foul on God. Because we're playing by the rules. At least we think we are. We're doing the best we can. We come to church, we try to be good, we try to help others. And this is what happens to me? I don't think so. That's a foul. That's what we want to do. Call foul on God. I may want to curse him, but I want to call a foul. And admittedly, some of my fouls we may call are what we call ticky-tack fouls, you know. You get a flat tire at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's a foul. I didn't get the promotion I wanted. I deserved it. Foul. Well, God, you know, I got the flu shot, and I still got a bad case of the flu. That's a foul. Yeah, we can live with those things. How about these? These sometimes I think is like in soccer, we give God the yellow card. That's the warning, isn't it? The yellow card's the warning. You get 2 of these and you're out. Yellow card, God. I think Lisa has a cancer survivor, now facing heart surgery from the side effects of chemo and breast cancer. That's a foul. Pray for Tracy, who has cancer of the blood and must undergo months of chemo and radiation, and she has 2 young children. I'll call foul on God on that. Pray for my sister Ruth. Her depression is killing her. Please pray for Jim and Barbara to recover from the death of their son Chris. I'll call foul. And little Kaiden Hartley, she's 2 years old, and she has leukemia. For that, you got the red card, which means you're out of the game. And that's why I give God the yellow card. You know, we may not have one simple thing that we're upset with God, but maybe like in basketball, you get 6 fouls. So maybe with God, it's like not just, one big thing. It's one thing after the other. And after a while you say, forget it, God. Who needs you? It's not working. I'm better off on my own, so you're out of the game. I mean, that's what happens in the world today. I think with the spread, the rise of atheism, people doubting God. Because why? Because they're fed up, because they want to call foul on God. They kick him out of their life. And get ready for this homily. I came across this fellow named Stephen Fry. I think he's English, playwright, won the Tony Award, and he's intellectual. I think he's like England's Bill Maher that we have, very smart. And he's an outright atheist. No bones about it. Anyway, they asked him, what happens if you were to die and you go to the gates of heaven and you find out there's a God? What would you say to him? He replied, I would say, bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you create a world that has such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It is utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-spirited, stupid God who creates a world that is full of injustice and pain? Wow. He puts the voice where many people think but are afraid to say. What kind of God is this? I no doubt those thoughts ran through your mind. Maybe not as strong, but you could think, what kind of God is this? And so for Job, for us, it's always a mystery to explain suffering. Because maybe we think God owes me. You know what's interesting? The people I think who should have no faith, who really struggle, people in the third world countries who suffer injustice and pain, a life of misery, they have faith. Remember 5 years ago, the earthquake in Haiti? They interviewed this 22-year-old woman She lost both her legs, and she lost her whole family. And they asked her, what are you going to do when you first get out of the hospital? And she replied, I'm going to find a church and thank God. That sounds crazy to our intellectuals today. You're going to do what? You lost your family, lost your legs, and you're going to find a church to thank God. When we see the world, the eyes that we're not owed anything, and that everything I have is a blessing, we begin to see God in our life. Oddly enough, just yesterday morning, I had help at a church for their first confessions for their children, and they encouraged the parents to go to confession as well with their children. Well, here's the last fellow that came in to see me. He's about a middle-aged man. I remember him very clearly. He came in, he sat down in front of me, actually sort of plopped down. He exhaled, then he rubbed his hand through his hair, and the first words out of his mouth was this: I have a bad back, bad neck, bad knees. I ought to divorce my wife. I lost my job, and I hate God. And he said, worst of all, I say I hate God in front of my children. I said, wow. And he went on. He said, he goes, I am tired with God. I've been coming here for 14 years, and nothing ever works for me. And I see all these scoundrels who lie, who steal, who cheat on their wives, who sleep with other women, and their life works out. I'm fed up, he says. I hate God and I don't need him. I said, well, why are you here then? I love my kids and, well, maybe it worked for them. So we talked, and I mentioned this during the homily. He said, I can, by the way. And I said, well, this I want you to do for your penance. It's not just for one day, but each night. I told you about that, and I strongly believe it. I said, every night before you go to sleep, you thank God for 5 things in your life. I said, I want you to do that every day now. He said, okay, I will. And he said, you can't give the same things day after day. You come up with 5 different things each day. He said, okay. He goes, I'll try it. I'll do it. And why is that important? Because once we begin thanking for the blessings, when we realize I am not owed anything, God does not owe me anything, I see the world through eyes of gratitude. I change my focus and I change my vision. I no longer see the problems, the struggles, but I see the blessings. And I can say it has made a big difference in my own life. And now it's not only before I go to bed at night, but when I say my prayer before lunch, I find myself thanking God for all the good things that happened that morning. When I'm driving my car, I stop thanking God for the things that He has so blessed me with. And it's amazing things I come up with, things I never even noticed before, things I took for granted. The big things and small things for rodeo whip, whatever it may be. When you begin seeing things you receive as a gift and thanking God, you will see the presence of God in your life. And so in this game of life, even though you try to play by the rules, you're not always going to win. Things always don't work out. You're going to strike out. But I promise you, if you have the eyes of gratitude and appreciation, you will always, always be victorious.